Okay, I can't believe I'm saying this, but this is my first episode of my podcast, finally. 2 years in the making up here, finally recording something. It hasn't got a name. It probably will have, hopefully will have by the time that you get to listen to this. And I'm a little bit nervous, so bear with. I want to start this podcast because I know from the women that I work with, and when we talk about things in more depth and more detail, that's what creates the aha moment. And there's only so much. We all know that I love a good old chitty chat. There's only so much that I can convey into a reel and post on social media. And actually, I want to give you more context around why we do things a certain way. And actually, you know what? I want to just talk about the stuff that matters. And this is the place to do that. This is the place to have real conversations. And I'm not going to limit myself to just talking about the best foods to eat or the best exercises. I want to talk about the stuff that we think, that we struggle with, the stuff that really matters. But I thought I'd start my first podcast with a little bit of background on myself. This is, I don't think I've ever spoken about this, and it feels a little bit self-indulgent to do so, but here we go. I was asked a couple of weeks ago what my reason why is, or what got me started, and like why I'm so passionate about women's health. And you know, I haven't had that massive transformation. I haven't lost 200 pounds. I haven't got that big before and after. That's not my backstory. That's not to say that there's not a lot of shared struggles and the things that I've sort of like gone through previously. But anyway, I digress. Here we go. Chitty chat once again. Stay on plan, Nick. Okay, so I mean, really top line, yeah, I have always been the sporty kid, I think. I was pretty sporty in school. I think I got a lot of rejection during that stage as well. Like if you're into sports in school, you're going to face rejection. And again, I think like we take this into our adult life, don't we? But so anyway, I always wanted to do something involved in sports. When I left school, I wanted to be a physio. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just wanted to do something in that field. Anyway, met a boy, as you do, and that plan went sideways. And I got a job in retail, which is totally different. And I was just doing 9 to 5, living for the weekend, as you do when you're younger. Quickly progress in the world of retail. The reason that this is relevant is because I have done the 9 to 5 job. I've also travelled extensively for work. I have done, you know, the feeling like you're living on the road and living in hotels as part of your work and the networking events. And so I can also speak to that when I'm working with clients who this is their struggle, because throughout that whole phase of my working life, I just maintained relatively healthy habits, exercising, working out. And then met my husband. You know, I was working in retail when we met. I was always the gym goer. He couldn't believe it. We would go on a night out. When we first met, we would go on a night out and he'd call me the next morning and I would be in the gym and he'd be in disbelief. He'd be like, we were out last night till like 2 a.m. And I'd be like, yeah, but this is who I am. Like this is part of my routine. And then, yeah, I think part of what, you know, I suppose was the deciding factor for me becoming a coach was that I was working away from home maybe 3-4 days of the week, and I just got to the stage where I thought, right, okay, it's now or never. Like, this is my passion. I was always sort of like, you know, almost like coaching friends and anyone who would listen in the background. Always, it's just always been such a passion, and not from a perspective of like helping people drop weight, more trying to encourage people like, okay, if this is what you're struggling with, exercise is going to really give you that, you know, boost in self-belief, or, you know, in mental health, or whatever it is. Anyway, yeah, I think the deciding factor was like, if I'm going to start a family, then I've got something in my eye. If I'm going to start a family, I've got to I'm not going to be able to travel 4 days a week. Like, I don't want this. So I started to study alongside working. Obviously didn't want to let my employer know that I was like doing this side hustle. So and I look back now and I think, God, this was such a bold move to make. I don't know if I'd have this courage to do this now. So I was like studying over weekend and like obviously doing my full-time job, which was country manager for a big retailer. And then, I just decided to hand my notice in once I'd qualified, gave back the company car, all the bells and whistles that came with the really good job that I had, and went and started working on the gym floor. Very quickly, it was like, right, okay, you trade your time for money, obviously, in the gym. And so the deal is you work X amount of hours for the gym, basically as a glorified cleaner. And in exchange for that, you get used for our facilities to be a PT, or you can pay rent, which came at like a decent price. I think it was £600 at the time. Inside of the first month anyway, I had built my client base. I didn't give myself an option to fail, but also as well, I'm so passionate about what I do. I just naturally sort of like built a really good client base inside of the first month, which was amazing. So anyway, so I quickly shifted from wanting to clean the gym and decided I was going to pay rent, make a business out of it, and go for it and like work on my own terms. And in that entire process, I've become a mom. I've got 2 daughters. I definitely realised once I'd had my first little girl, working as a PT on the gym floor wasn't always doable. Like, I would be getting called, like my jam is to get up at 6 a.m. and like I want the early bird clients. I want the women who have got that sort of, bite to get after it. But obviously when you've got a newborn baby, that's not really ideal when they wake up and mummy's not there because she's at the gym. So anyway, went through a period of trying to make that work and just slowly transitioned online. And in that process, the realisation, the penny drop for me, that we really get to know each other on a different level, like the clients that I work with. But it's the other 23 hours in the day. That's where the transformation is made. It's not in the hour in the gym. So I was asked the question a couple of weeks ago, my reason why. And again, I bring it back to like, I have not got that big £200 weight loss to talk about. For me, when I actually thought about it, I realised that it was seeing my mum when I was growing up. That was that's been the catalyst for the way that I am now. And she doesn't even know I'm talking about this, and I hope she understands, because I'm sure she'll listen. She's my biggest cheerleader, and like we are best friends. But also there is an element of like, when I was growing up, my mum didn't have the confidence. She's got more confidence now. She'll openly admit this, but she wasn't filled with confidence. So I felt as though I was her cheerleader a lot of the time. And to see your own mum not see themselves through the eyes that you see them. You want them to have this self-belief. You want them to go for it and realise how amazing they are. That's my reason why. Because I want different for my girls, essentially. I want to be the strong, confident, like if we need anything, no matter how big or small, mummy can do it, mummy can sort it. And it's not that I can't even, do you know what it is? Truth bomb. I don't want to share too much. And maybe I will in a future episode. But it's not that I didn't see my mum as that person. I obviously did, but she will openly say as well, like, she was always, for example, okay, silly example, but I'm sure we can all relate to it. She would always ask me if she looked okay, 1,000,000 times over. Are you sure I look okay? Are you sure I don't look fat? She'll probably be horrified to hear me say this, because she might not even remember it, but it's such a vivid memory for me. And then I would tell her how amazing she looked, and then I would hear her going to ask my dad the same question, because she needed validation all of the time. When she's absolutely amazing, like she's insane, but she didn't have that belief in herself. It wasn't instilled. So I just took it upon myself. I don't even know what it was. You know the way some of us take on that trait from our parents? I feel like I'm shaking because I feel quite emotional talking about this. Some of us take on that trait from our parents, and some of us go in the opposite direction. And I don't know what the science is behind that, what makes us go one way or the other. Because I work with a lot of women who, the reason that they are the way they are, whether it's because they yo-yo diet or lack of self-belief, it comes from their mum. But they've taken on that trait, whereas I decided I want to go in the exact opposite direction. I don't know what that was. And so that for me, when I talk about the importance in our self-belief and our mentality, and it not being about weight, but it being more about like the way we see ourselves and our mental health and taking better care of ourselves and being able to have our own back, that's where it comes from. It took me a while to sort of like realise that. So yeah, I feel like I need to have just a little minute to compose, because you know the other thing is, and this is like, this is quite emotional, but I'm not going to get emotional, is that like, I don't know if anybody else, you know, listens to different podcasts or whatever. When you're a mum yourself, you see your own mum through different eyes, don't you? And it's realising that like my mum, when she was 20, lost her dad. And I know that this is so totally off topic, but it is a part of my story. I've never even spoke to my mum about this, I don't think. And I realise now, oh my gosh, like what an impact that must have had on her well-being and her mental health. And like, it was a couple of months before she was getting married. So like, obviously that all had to change. And then she had me not long after. She went through this massive life trauma and like had a baby in the process, I suppose, because, you know, I'm sure she was still going through it when I was born. And it's like, so that shaped her, maybe her level of confidence and maybe her need for like validation and reassurance and whatever it might be. And I can look back on that now and I can appreciate it and I can realise that that was maybe why she struggled with self-confidence. I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I just know that for me, that was when I try to articulate what's my reason why and why am I so passionate about this, it comes from that. It comes from, you know, I'm just really so passionate about us all having this self-belief, I suppose. And it comes, here's the mad thing, and I've spoken about this before, but when I switched, because I've definitely gone through those phases, ladies, by the way, of, you know, trying the latest diet and dieting for the weekends. Oh my gosh, when wet look leggings come out, that was not a moment for me, because my thighs have always been my thing. And I'm sure that wet look leggings come out at the same time as thigh gap was a fashion trend, like a body trend, which again, I have the sense now to like see past that. But obviously we all go through these stages, don't we, growing up. I remember like really heavily crash dieting because I wanted to look the same going out to the weekend. I wanted to wear the wet look leggings, but I was like, I have not got the size for them leggings at all. And the honest to God, the only way for me to even get like a remnants of a thigh gap was to feel like I had to starve myself. The hangover was not pretty after that, because obviously you can imagine, basically went out on an empty stomach. The leggings did look fabulous. I still wore a baggy top to cover up the legs, so I could have just been my normal self anyway. So I've definitely been through all of those sort of like, you know, phases and trends. But I made the decision when I first had my first little girl, Penelope, so 7.5 years ago. Like when I was pregnant, again, worked on the gym floor, was really fit and active. You know, everyone told me, oh my gosh, you're going to bounce back. I also always have carried weight on my lower body and legs, never around my stomach. So again, it was always like, you know, you'll be fine, you'll have abs after a week. And I don't think people realise the impact of these comments, because when that didn't happen for me, I realise looking back now, I don't think I had like postnatal or anything like that, because I didn't struggle, but I struggled showing up as my authentic self. everywhere except in my own home. Like in my own home, I was great. Like my husband's best friend, obviously my little girl is never going to pass judgment on me. But outside, like I didn't go back to the gym. I didn't go back to show the baby to all my friends, the way you do when you go into work. And like I didn't want people to see me because my stomach hadn't come back in and I wasn't the same person that I had been. And my body had changed massively. And so I went through this, again, another phase of trying and failing. And anyway, fast forward, turned out I had a hernia. So an umbilical hernia, which I won't bore you with, but that was this crazy abdominal separation, which wasn't picked up by, the doctors or anything when I was questioned, like, why does my stomach look like this? That's a whole other story, but yeah, so there was that to sort of like deal with and just think about, and I just put this immense pressure on myself, and I just didn't have the confidence. Truly, I didn't have the confidence to say, this is me, I've had a baby, my body's changed, and I'm good with this because I've created life. And like, it's mad, isn't it? It's mad when you think about that, but we still feel that we have to conform to like looking a certain way. Anyway, when I got pregnant with my second Isadora, I was just of a total different mindset. Like, I'd been through that with Penelope and I realised what truly mattered. And here's the most amazing thing, and I think this is why I'm so, even more so passionate now about health and well-being, is, so I decided when I was pregnant with Izzy, and you might have seen pictures online, I was absolutely huge, and I was told I wasn't carrying like loads of water. So in my head I was thinking, I'm not eating that much, like I was really big. Anyway, when she was born, apparently there was a load of water, so I was quite relieved by that. But I decided, before I'd even had it, I decided in my mind, I'm not going to put myself under any pressure to get back in shape if I'm a comfortable 2 sizes bigger than what I was prior to getting pregnant. And that's my body postpartum. That's what I'm going to be comfortable with. Like, I just didn't put that expectation on myself at all. And the most amazing thing happened is that I got into shape way quicker than I thought was even possible. Done a photo shoot 5 months after giving birth and genuinely felt bloody fantastic. And I strongly believe that it is all because the only thing I was concerned about was my health and my well-being. And that's what I focused on. That is wholeheartedly. I wasn't worried about the scale number moving. I wasn't worried about, fitting into my old clothes or any of that. I definitely was concerned about feeding myself proper nutrient-dense food because I was breastfeeding. And also, again, like, I've got these 2 daughters now in the world. Like, it's so important for me to take care of myself because they need me. And so when I looked at it from that perspective, my body started to change. And this is the aha moment that I see with clients, is that they come to me, and again, I'm probably going off tangent slightly here, but the women that I work with, they sign up because they want to look a certain way, or they want to finally hit this number on the scales, or whatever it might be. And then the penny drop moment is always, oh my gosh, like, scrap all of that. I want more of this feeling. I want more of like feeling strong, feeling energized. It's almost like, it's like a bubble you like step out of a bubble when you realise how to eat well, how to take care of yourself, how to stop yo-yoing. So yeah, that's a little bit of the reason why I'm so passionate about, and also like I'm so passionate about us validating the story as to why we are struggling. And again, this is just when I think back to my own mum, and I think that there's a story for all of us why we struggle, because you can imagine, I definitely grew up in a household as well. My mum, by the way, now she's just started doing Couch to 5k this year, and is now embarking on like a running journey at the age of 65, which is just bloody amazing. And so again, shout out to all of the women who think that there's an age or there's a limit on our capability when it comes to physical fitness, because there isn't. Because again, like when I was growing up, again, my mum was doing Weight Watchers, Slimming World. She also done Keep Fit and stuff as well. But I think all of us will probably on some level relate to, like, we grew up in that environment where it was the norm. Like, your mum was on a diet, your dad wasn't. That was the norm for us. But we have to break that narrative, because it's damaging our mental health. It's damaging the way we show up. And it's damaging the way we live. Like, we're not experiencing life. We're going on holiday and worrying about what we look like what other people might think we look like. And we're making all of our decisions based on fear, instead of truly appreciating how amazing we are and how focusing on how we want to feel rather than how we look. Like, all of that will change. Your habits, your behaviours, you will naturally, I can almost guarantee this, start to take better care of yourself, because you are more focused on how you want to feel. And again, like, I'll talk on future episodes, but a big part of what I do is mindset. It's mindset coaching. Like, it's nutrition, and yes, it's the fitness, and I can give you the, best way to work out if you're working out from a hotel room or whatever it is, whatever the specifics are you need. But you've also got to have the mindset behind you to make those better decisions. So yeah, I'm looking down at my notes now, because I'm thinking, did I cover everything? I feel like I could go on forever, as I'm sure we all do when we're talking about ourselves, and like my story and my reason why. And I'm sure I'm going to cut this podcast short and think of a million other things that I should have said, but this is the first one. It's when I talk about the all or nothing mindset, which I know most women struggle with when it comes to diet. I struggle with it when it comes to doing things like this. Like, the podcast has to be perfect or it can't be done. So that's kept me stuck for 2 whole years. Like, if it's not perfect, it can't be done, which is wild. So I'm going to wrap this up knowing that it's not perfect. It's not the perfect ending. I've probably waffled, so I really appreciate anyone who's listened up until this point. And I will see you all on the next podcast. Thank you for listening, everyone.